So if you want to share your desktop right there at the top menu, it's just share and
Yep, I think I got that.
when it comes across.
Do you see that?
Yep, we see it. Looks great, and I can hear you fine. It's perfect.
Great. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's time. Good day, everybody. My name is Scott. I'm one of the sales engineers here at Cymphonix, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the company beforehand, as well as what our product can do. But ultimately, what you're going to be listening to today is how you can identify and control the 4 different types of internet traffic. And just to quickly tell you what the 4 types are, and I'll go over them a little bit more in a few minutes here, is the first one's inappropriate, second one's recreational, third is relevant, and the fourth is critical. Now, Cymphonix, what we offer is basically, it is a physical box, it is a network appliance, it is an inline device, and just to kind of give you a quick heads up, if you're wondering what it is we sell, it is an actual physical box. And the way we came about coming up with this particular product is that we originally started out as a regional ISP. And we provided internet for not just residential but also business customers. And as our customer base grew, we found that the customers were getting a little bit upset that they were perceiving that they were not getting what they were paying for in terms of bandwidth. This is back in the early 2000s. We know back when 510 megabits was actually quite a bit, and so they would say that I'm paying for this amount, but I'm only seeing a fraction of that. You guys are slowing down my traffic. And we would look on our side of the circuit, and we would see that it looked very clean. They were getting exactly the amount of bandwidth that they were paying for, and so we kind of had this little back and forth. But since they're our customers, there's only so much that we can do, before they get really upset. And so, as you can understand, they were getting a little frustrated. So what we decided to do was we had a couple really smart engineers here. They decided to kind of cobble together a quick PC box with their own proprietary software, and decided to kind of take this box to certain locations and say, well, let's put this on the inside of your circuit so that we can see all of your traffic, and then we can show you exactly where your bandwidth is going. And this device in particular, it needed to be in line so that we could see everything that's going in and out of their network. So it had to be inside the flow of the traffic. It had to be on the inside of their firewall, or obviously everything would be natted. We wouldn't be able to see all the different IP addresses and things like that. This device also could not introduce any kind of latency or lag. It basically had to be completely invisible in terms of their typical browsing experience. And once we had all of that data, it had to be very easy for them to understand. They had to be able to look at it and see very clearly that, oh, that makes perfect sense. I see now exactly where my data is going. And once we did that, we found that the response was pretty universal. Once we said, okay, look, you definitely are getting the bandwidth that you're paying for, just practically everyone always said, great, what can you do to fix it? Or how can you help me fix it? And that's kind of when the light bulbs went off over the engineers' heads here. It's like, okay, there's a market for this. Not only can we just show them what's happening on their side of the circuit, but we need to help them control it. And so what was needed, as you can see here, was internet management. And we define internet management as clarity into and control over all of your internet-related traffic. So if it's going to the internet from your network, if it's coming from the internet on your network, we want you to be able to see it completely visibly, as well as being able to control that. And that is what our product, the Network Composer, can do for you. And we define clarity as a lot of different things. And the first definition of clarity is that we have to be able to show you user data, not just all the IP addresses that are going out and doing things on the internet, but we need to show you who it is. So we needed to be able to be tightly integrated to your existing directory infrastructure, whether that be Active Directory, whether that be eDirectory, whether that be Apple Open LDAP. Whatever you have, we can integrate with that so that we can show you specific users and their data. So if you've got like a student that's signing into 5 different machines throughout the day, you can still do the report on that one student and see everything that that student is doing. Clarity also encompasses application data. So we need to be able to show you the ports and the protocols of everything that's happening going to and from the internet, as well as layer 7 specific application signatures. Because as you know, going to iTunes, the website, is a little bit different than running iTunes the application on the desktop, and we need to be able to differentiate the two and show you the difference. The third is web activity. So HTTP and HTTPS, whether they are going to a regular website or a secure SSL site, we need to be able to show you every single website that they're going to, as well as any type of software as a service programs that they use as well. So let's go back to the 4 different types of internet traffic. The first one is inappropriate. Everyone has in their heads what is inappropriate for their network. It's different for every network, but for the majority, it's kind of the same. This is the type of traffic that you do not want in any shape or form on your network. If it is, whether it be a website or a particular problem student, whether it's malware, spyware, whatever it is, you know what it is, and you want to completely remove it, block it, make sure it never even exists on your network in the first place. And you may already have something in place already that you're using for blocking inappropriate traffic, and that is great. We work in conjunction with other things that block inappropriate traffic. But if you don't have anything, we can also do the exact same thing. We can block inappropriate traffic for you. Now, the other 3, I should say, traffic types are recreational, relevant, and critical. These are the traffic types that are probably taking up the majority of your pipe. These are the things you're not blocking. So recreational, this is the type of traffic that is not related to your school. This is the type of traffic that basically it's just probably streaming media, like listening to music, watching movies, maybe visiting different sites like that you're allowing, if you're allowing Facebook or different news or social media sites, anything like that that is obviously just not related to your business, or in your case, your school. Now, relevance and critical traffic, these are the things that are related. Relevant traffic may be like, let's say, this particular WebEx. This is obviously not critical, but it's definitely something that is relevant to your school because you're learning how to better optimize and streamline your network and just get a little bit more educated about the different products and things out there. And the fourth type of traffic is the critical traffic. This is the type of traffic that if you lose any type of connection to it, you're the person that's getting the angry phone calls right away. Everybody knows exactly when this traffic is down or very slow. This is the type of traffic that is needed for your school to function. Maybe things like when students have, in the year when it's time for them to do the testing and they go to a testing website, they need to ensure that they have bandwidth available to do these tests because they have a limited amount of time to do so. Things like that. So the question is, if you're blocking the inappropriate traffic, how are you prioritizing the other 3? Because in all likely situations, the recreational traffic that you have is likely taking up the majority of your internet pipe. So with the Network Composer, our product, we can not only help you block the inappropriate traffic, but our product also allows you to prioritize and shape the other 3 types of internet traffic. So you can put bandwidth limitations or bandwidth caps on the recreational traffic, as well as prioritize that recreational traffic to be a little bit lower priority. And you can prioritize the critical and relevant traffic to be a higher priority so that they always have more bandwidth available to them. And we kind of view it as a simple graphic that if everything that we do is boiled down to one image, it's this right here, this internet management cycle, because we really believe it is a cycle. It basically starts with your clarity from your users, applications, and web activity, and then it goes into the 4 traffic types, which we just talked about, and then you basically fine-tune and control how you want to block, allow, and prioritize and shape the different 4 traffic types. And you're always going to, as I mentioned, fine-tune and continually improve upon your current model. All right, so that is the first portion of our demonstration here, or the slideshow. What I want to do now is go into the product itself. This is the interface of our device. You can access it from any internet browser, from any PC on your network. Let me go ahead and sign in here real fast. Now, what I typically like to do with showing this product here is I like to give like a hypothetical situation. And in this hypothetical situation, I'm an IT administrator, and my superintendent, he didn't like how slow the internet was going, so he decided to spend a little bit more money to upgrade his bandwidth so that things would go a little bit faster. But as you know, if you give a lot of bandwidth, obviously people are going to find ways to use it up. And so he comes back to me 2 weeks later and says, things are going still really slow. I want you to tell me who the top problem students that are using the bandwidth are. I want you to find out who the #1 student is that's basically spending all of his time browsing websites that aren't related to the school. I want you to tell me who's eating up all of our bandwidth. Who is this problem student, so that we can at least either talk to them or take some action, or even maybe put some policies in place to help alleviate that. So let's take a look at what we can do here. I'm going to run a system report, and I'm going to do a web usage report. I'm going to do overview/hits. And a hit is basically any URL that is loaded in a browser. And we can see that there's been 3 types of hits in the last 24 hours. There's been about 247,000 allowed hits, so these are the sites that I'm allowing. 12,000 that have been blocked, so these are the sites that I'm currently blocking. And 2,000 that have been bypassed. And if you're wondering what bypassed is, what that means is I can create a bypass password, and I can give that password to people I trust. And if someone gets blocked, they can type in that password and get around the block. But since we're a big believer in clarity and showing you everything that happens on your network, we're still able to show you when they type in that password and for which website that they are bypassing. So that's what that is there. But since I'm more concerned about bandwidth in this particular scenario, I'm going to right-click on Allowed, and I'm going to quickly drill down and correlate by directory user. So these are my top users that, in terms of browsing URLs. And we can see here that the student Nate Hardcount is our #1 user. And out of all my students, he takes up 18% of of browsing traffic. So he's definitely a power browser. He's a power user in terms of browsing the internet. I want to see what types of websites he's been particularly going to. So I'm going to, again, right-click and drill down. And let's do by category, so we can look at the top categories of websites that he's been going to. Well, we can see that virtual community is #1. I'm going to right-click again and drill down on virtual community to see specifically what types of websites he goes to within virtual community. Well, we can see from here that the top 10, top 11 websites all end in fbcdn.net, with Facebook being #2. And through experience, I've kind of learned that FBCDN, that the FB stands for Facebook. So my top person browsing the internet on my network is spending the majority of his time going to Facebook. But that doesn't necessarily answer my superintendent's full question. That just gives a kind of a part of that question, since he wanted to know who the top person was browsing different websites that aren't school related. So let's take a look at that exact same report that we were just looking at. And I'm going to right-click again, and I'm going to drill down by directory user again. And I want you to take a quick mental note of the top 5 users here. We have Nate Hardcount, Dan, Katie, Tiffany, and Adam. I'm going to change this report to be a bandwidth report instead of a URL hits report. So I'm going to click on View Bandwidth Report. There's multiple ways to get here. This is just one quick way of doing so. We can see from this particular report now that Nate drops down to #6 when it comes to bandwidth, and Kevin McHanson, who wasn't even in my top 5 in the last report, shoots up to #1. So Kevin McHanson, that student, he's downloaded 950 megs, uploaded 15 for a total of almost a gigabyte in just the last 24 hours. And Nate has only done about 417, less than half of my top user. So in terms of bandwidth, Kevin McHanson, out of all my students, is using up 21% alone for just him downloading and uploading. So I want to see specifically what he's doing in terms of bandwidth. So I'm going to right-click. I'm just going to drill down and go right to host. So we can see here that the top websites that Kevin McHanson goes to is grooveshark.com. And Grooveshark, if you're not familiar with it, is basically a streaming media music website. So this person's listening to a lot of music, using up a lot of our bandwidth just from streaming music directly to his device. And a gigabyte of traffic is actually a fair amount of traffic to be listening to music for. And I see that he has several streams opened in the last 24 hours to GroupShark.com. So that kind of leads me to believe that maybe there's something else going on as well. Maybe he is opening up multiple tabs in his browser and then all going to GroupShark. And maybe he has some type of a software program on his PC where he's illegally capturing and saving that music to his own hard drive. And if he's doing that, that opens up a whole new realm of legal questions and basically there's some problems that could potentially happen on my end because he's doing so using our ISP, our bandwidth. So knowing all this, I can go back to my superintendent and say, well, we have one student that is basically browsing Facebook a lot compared to the others, but we also have another student who's listening. The number one person using our bandwidth is listening to music from GroupShark.com, and on top of that, we might want to have a talk with him, maybe take a look at his PC, make sure that everything he's doing is normal. And so my superintendent might say, that sounds great, let's go ahead and do that, but what I want you to do in the meantime is let's put up some policies in place so that we can make sure this doesn't happen again in the future. So what I want you to do is I want you to block Facebook for the students, but I also want you to put some caps on GroupShark.com because I don't mind them listening to music as long as it is not taking up the rest of the bandwidth. So let's take a look at how we can do that. I'm going to go over to the Manage tab now and go to Policies and Rules. And this is where I can start setting up my policies. Now, when you set up a policy, you have to kind of ask yourself a few different questions. The first is, how do you want to apply the policy to a different group of people? Do you want to apply them globally to just everyone at once? Or do you want to kind of separate them out? Do you want to create a group for the seniors and then you create a different group for the freshmen? Do you want to create a group for the faculty? Do you want to create a group for maybe all the PCs in the science lab and then give them a different set of rules? You can certainly do that by going to groups and then choosing what kind of group you want to create. So all I have to do here is click on Create, and I'm presented with two different options. The first option is a network composer group. And a network composer group is basically a physical machine group. Like I said, if you wanted to create a group by specific IP addresses or MAC addresses or even entire subnet ranges. So if I've got, let's say the science lab and they're all in their own subnet, I can certainly do that. I can create a group and then put in the subnet range, with like a CIDR block source and destination, put it like a /24 at the end of that. Or I could do it, if I've got a wireless network, I can certainly put in the entire wireless subnet range as well. The other type of group, and this is the one that most of our customers use, is when you've integrated with your directory, you can create a directory agent group and then create a group specifically tied into your directory server. So if I go to add members, for example, I can choose how I want to create the group for. I can do it by security groups. I can do it by OUs, organizational units. This is a demo box, so obviously we don't have a very intricately structured directory here, but you can get the idea for sure. You can even do it by attribute and custom. So if you've if you want to create a group for a very specific directory user, or if you are very familiar with the LDAP language, you can even create your own custom query string to create a group for. Like, let's say if you wanted to create a group for all the students who are graduating in 2014 whose last name starts with M. You can do that. You'd have to put in the very specific LDAP query for it, but it is definitely possible. So once you've got your group created, or let's say that you want to just apply it to everyone on the network, the next step is figuring out what filtering rule, or what we call internet usage rule, you want to apply to that group. So let's go ahead and create a new internet usage rule here, a new filtering rule. We can give it a name. We'll call it default access rule. And from here, we can start doing things like choosing what type of categories we want to block, what type of URLs we want to block. So if I come to the Block Categories button, for example, I click on that. I click on Edit Block Categories. I can start choosing which categories I want to block. Like, let's say I definitely want to block pornography. I can add that. I don't like my students trying to get around my filter, so I'm going to block filter avoidance related sites. Whatever I want to do, I can start adding to the list here. And since my superintendent specifically said he wants to block Facebook, I can now also go down to the blocked URLs, click on Edit Blocked URLs, put in, since we do allow wildcards, I can put in *facebook.com, hit Update, and we also notice that fbcdn.net was also a part of Facebook. Let's go ahead and put that in as well. Hit OK. So I've got my block categories, I've got my block URLs. We also have an Allowed URLs button, and what that does is it overrides your blocked categories. So if you're blocking the category of sports, for example, you can allow ESPN. So ESPN would be allowed, but everything else is blocked. We also allow you to block different file types and MIME types, of which there are many. As you can see here, there's quite a few to choose from. So if you want to block specific file types or MIME types, you can do that as well. Some of the questions that I typically get asked is how do we do HTTPS or SSL filtering? And we certainly, since we're an inline device, we definitely can do that as well. And what I want to talk about is the two different types of SSL filtering that we offer. The first type of SSL filtering is a certificate-based content filtering. And all it is it basically is us just looking at the certificate that's passed between the host and the client and seeing who that certificate is assigned to. And we basically will look at the URL of the site that the certificate's assigned to, and then block or allow it based off of your policy. So if they're trying to go to like HTTPS, playboy.com or something like that, and you're blocking pornography, we can see that in the certificate, and we will block it. Now, some of the problems that some people have, and you might be having them as well, is if you're doing a certificate-based content filtering and your students are going to https://youtube.com. Well, with certificate-based content filtering only, if you were to go there right now and go to https://youtube.com and look at the certificate, you would see that the certificate's name is not related to youtube.com. Who actually owns the certificate is Google, because Google bought YouTube not too long ago, and so they own the certificate. And so if you're just having certificate-based content filtering, when they go to https://youtube.com, the filtering device only sees it as them going to Google. So if you run into that, we also allow you to do full SSL content filtering. And what this is, you'll see there's a kind of a message there. What this does is basically it allows us to be a full man-in-the-middle scenario where we can see everything in that SSL tunnel regardless of the site that they're going to. So if they're going to an HTTPS website, we can see everything in the clear. We can see the full URL. We can see the full packets and the payload of those packets. We can see everything that they're doing, and they cannot hide their traffic from you. So it doesn't matter if they're going to https://youtube.com because we can see specifically that they are going to YouTube. And if you ever have any websites that, if you want to do full SSL content filtering, you can, but you don't want the composer to get inside the tunnel for specific websites, you can put in your bank website or whatever site you want to put in here, just put them on the filter exemption list, and we won't even touch that traffic at that point. So it's a pretty handy thing. And one of the other benefits of being an inline device, especially and also for full content filtering, is that we are not just relying on a category database for our filtering policies. So all content filtering devices have a giant database of URLs and what category those URLs are. Typically, they're human verified. Just like our own, we've got tens of millions of URLs that have all been human verified. So if someone goes to a pretty common website, it's going to be in our database, and we already have it pre-categorized, so we know what category that is, and we can block it. But as you know, the internet is constantly changing. New websites are constantly being added. If someone were to create, like let's say, someone from home were to create a pornography website and get it registered within 5 or 10 minutes ago, no database in the world is going to be up to date. No database is going to have that in their database to know that that website is pornography yet. So what our box does, when it looks at a website and it looks up the category in our own database, if it finds that that URL is not in the database, it then goes into detective mode. It goes into doing something what we call content analysis of that page. So it's basically scanning all kinds of things on that page itself. It's scanning the source code of the page. It's scanning the meta tags of the page. It is scanning for common keywords and key phrases within the URL and the page itself to determine what type of category that page should be. And this all happens within milliseconds. So if it looks like porn, if it sounds like porn, and you're blocking porn, we're going to categorize it as porn even though it's not in our database yet, and we're going to block it. And then from there, we're going to upload that URL to us here. Someone is going to verify that, and then it's going to be updated to your category database within 48 hours. So you have all these layers and safety nets of protection to ensure that the inappropriate traffic is not entering your network. And with the full Ssl filtering, we're able to do that content analysis, that detective mode, even in HTTPS SSL environments. So very, very secure. All right, so once you've got your rules set up, we're blocking Facebook like our superintendent wanted. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's look at what we can do for prioritizing and shaping that GroupShark traffic. So the next rule I want to create is a shaping rule. So let's go ahead and create a new one here. We'll just call this a default shaping rule. And when I create a shaping rule, as you can see here, I'm presented with 3 different tabs. I'm presented with the group, an application, and a web content tab. And what the group tab is for, you see, when I create a filtering rule and when I create a shaping rule, I can assign them to different groups. So if I create 5 different groups, like of students, teachers, faculty, management, IT administrators, whatever you want to create, you can have 3 different internet rules, for example, and have 2 groups sharing the same internet rule and 3 groups all having their own separate internet filtering rule as well. Same goes for shaping rules. So if you've got a group of problem students, for example, you can create a group for those problem students, separate them out from the rest of the students, and then even create a filtering rule and a shaping rule specifically for those problem students, and say on the group tab, I want their traffic to never exceed 40% of my pipe. And this is all traffic. Everything on the group tab is everything. So whether that be HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, peer-to-peer, all types of traffic is now capped for any group using this rule, in this case the problem students. And I can even prioritize those problem students to be at a lower priority. And when I change the priority, what that means is if your pipe ever gets maxed out, if your pipe gets capped, the composer then looks at all of the priorities of your traffic. By default, they're all set to a default level. And if there is any that is lower, it's going to actively slow down that traffic even further so that more bandwidth is available to other types of traffic with a higher priority. So this would definitely put some brakes on the problem students without completely blocking their access. And on the flip side, if you've got some very critical devices on the network or people that, whether they're people or servers, web servers, things that need to have higher priority traffic or more bandwidth available to them at all times, you can create a shaping rule specifically for that group of devices or people, cap them at 100%, and give them a higher or highest priority so that the composer will always ensure that more bandwidth is available to those people or devices. Typically, though, when people create shaping rules with the customers that I talk to, they spend most of their time in the application or the web content tab. And so let's talk about those. So the application tab, this is where I can now start putting limitations on specific applications. So for example, if I wanted to, I can cap all streaming media to be 50% of my pipe, so that anything that's streaming media is never going to go above 50%. And I can even change the priority as well. If I've got peer-to-peer on the network, I can set that down to a level that is basically unusable. I can add that. If I have a VoIP and voice chat, for example, and my internet gets very slow, my internet gets maxed, my phone system will probably start to kind of stutter. I want to ensure that that traffic always has a little bit more bandwidth available to it, so I can choose maybe a higher priority for VoIP and voice chat. You can see that there's quite a few things that you can do with the application side of things and prioritize and shape the different types of traffic there. Let's say, for example, I don't want to shape all streaming media, so I'm going to delete that out of here. This is where the third tab can come in handy for your shaping rule, the Web Content tab. Now, this is where we get really granular. If it happens in a web browser, you can modify it and control it here. So the content type, the drop-down box, I'm going to choose from here. Basically, I'm going to choose web URL, and I'm going to put in grooveshark.com, and I can even do stars, I believe. So if I do star-grooveshark.com, I can specifically cap all traffic going to or from GrooveShark specifically. Say put the cap at 30%, give it a lower priority. So now any traffic on my network that's going to or from this website, grooveshark.com, has been limited so that it's not going to cripple my network in the future. And on the flip side, if I've got a testing website that students are going to be going to, and I need to ensure that traffic for those students is always going to be available, I can put in the website's name. I can give it highest priority. So now any traffic going to or from that testing website with the priority of highest, the composer is going to slow down all other types of traffic so that the testing students will always have more bandwidth available to them. I've known several customers who struggled with this in the past, where the students have been trying to do some testing, and their pipe was so maxed out, the students who were doing the testing were not able to, complete their test because they would submit their answers and it would just time out because the bandwidth was just so overutilized. That once they were able to finally get some, control out with our product, it was just a night and day difference, and it just made them so much happier when testing time came around for the students. So you can see there's quite a few things that you can do in terms of helping to alleviate and control some of the types of traffic on your network. So let's go ahead and save that. So once you've got your filtering rule defined and once you've got your shaping rule defined, it's just a simple matter of deciding which groups you want to assign those rules to. And that's done under the Policy Manager. The Policy Manager, let's say I want to do it for everyone on my network. I'm going to do that for the default group here. So I click on the default group. I choose which particular rule I want to apply to that rule, to that group, I should say, and which shaping rule. Those are the two I just created. I hit Save, and I'm done. And if I have any other groups that I want to apply that shaping rule to, let's say if I have a teacher group, for example, this says CEO staff, but we can pretend. I can also apply that shaping rule to them too, just by clicking on the group and hitting Save. So a very simple way of managing things. It's just a matter of deciding how you want to apply your filtering and how you want to apply your shaping, which again comes back to that clarity into your 4 traffic types, being able to see everything that's happening on your network, and then being able to do something about that by controlling it. So those are pretty much the high points of this demonstration here. What we're going to do now is switch back over to the slides. So our goal is basically to make sure that you're fans of Internet management. So let's quickly review here. Internet management, again, is clarity into and control over all of your Internet-related traffic. That there are 4 basic types of traffic. Those 4 types are inappropriate, recreational, relevant, and critical. Traditional filtering solutions maybe only address 1 or 2 of those 4 different types. And traditional packet shapers also may only address one, maybe two of the four, but they're not always content aware of the types of traffic as well. So these are just some of the few customers that are also believers in internet management that really love their Cymphonix product. And our goal is basically to make you a fan as well. And if you have some questions about pricing, this is a pricing sheet of our new product here, an LX series platform. We have several different boxes that range from 10 megabits all the way up to 200 plus. You can see that the MSRP for each is in this column. This is the ASM licensing for each box for just 1 year. If you buy for multiple years, there are some discounts there, and I believe that we do have some incentives for education as well. As for the number of nodes for licensing, we give you unlimited nodes. So if you have, it doesn't matter if you have a small school or a very large school, we give you unlimited licensing for regardless of how many students you have. We also still have our old EX series platforms as well for the more enterprise customers that range from 5 megabits all the way up to 500. And if you have a very large site where you have multiple boxes, maybe multiple internet access points or multiple networks, you can even purchase one of our products called the Network Conductor. And its job is basically to help you centralize manage your devices. So when you create, all you have to do is log into the Conductor and create your policies, and those policies are pushed out to all your different boxes, as well as all of your different boxes will send their reporting data to the Conductor. So all of your reporting data is housed in one box, so you can view it all from the Conductor as well. A very, very handy tool. So now we're at the point where if you have some questions, I'd be very happy to answer those questions for you, as well as demonstrate them as well if they're related to that. Now, Q, I'm not exactly sure how I can view those questions with the WebEx here. Do I have to stop sharing my device, or?
There's up at the top of your screen, there's just a little toolbar. If you just hover over that, you'll be able to see there's a chat and then a drop down for Q&A. I don't see any questions at this moment.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to put those through on the Q&A and on the chat. Once again, as I stated, everyone should have that little toolbar at the top of their screen. If they just hover over that, they can get to the chat or the Q&A there and feel free to put those.
Yep, I see that now. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have our first questions here. Any capabilities higher than 500 megabits? Approximate cost. We do have solutions higher than 500 megabits. The cost is kind of dependent on the network involved. We do have a box that is definitely capable of higher speeds than that. I'm more of the sales engineer instead of a salesperson, so I don't have specific pricing. But I would be very happy to get you talking to someone that can answer those specific questions for you a little bit better. You can email me directly. You can see my email right here on that slide. It's just scott@cymphonix.com, and I'd be happy to get you over to one of our sales guys for that. Anything else? Anything else anybody wants to see? If while we're waiting for more questions, I can let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other features of the product. So since we are big believers in showing you everything that is happening on your network, we have a couple different real-time monitors in our own device that you can look at. This is traffic that is happening in real time. For some reason, my particular laptop does not like the demo box here, so you can see the top two speed dials don't match up quite perfectly. And this only happens on my laptop, and it only happens on our demo site, so I don't know why it does that. But you can see here that there's a total upload and a total download. So they're kind of like speedometers for how much bandwidth is being utilized currently. So you can see my downloads kind of hovering between 20 and 40% of my pipe. The next two down are specifically what types of traffic are traversing the network. We can see that this application traffic overview here, all the different colored bars are coordinated down here in the legend. So this dark red is streaming media. So there's a lot of streaming media happening right now, HTTP. We're just seeing a big spike now. This blue up here, and we can come down here and see that that's email, paging, and collaboration. So it looks like my email server just sent out a big blast out to the world. And on the right-hand side, this is the total download and total upload in terms of bits per second as well. And just like all of our other reports, I can right-click on any of these and view the correlated history and see who my top user is for any particular type of traffic. As you can see, that student, Kevin McCanson, is still downloading, streaming media. Since this is simulated data, my rules won't be really applied to him, but you can definitely see how this could be handy in terms of figuring out who's doing what on your network right now. Another cool real-time monitor that we have is a real-time URL monitor. And this particular monitor will show you who's going to which websites right now. We give you the timestamp, we give you the category of the website, we give you the IP address, we give you the directory username, we give you the group, we give you the location, which brings me up to something else that I forgot to talk about because it's kind of new. We have what's called a mobile client, and this can be installed on mobile devices like laptops and even iOS devices, so that basically when your students leave the network, they are still filtered and still reported on, regardless if they are, on your network or off your network. And you can even, it's smart enough to know when they are local and when they're remote. So if you're watching this real-time monitor, it would stay remote if this person is off the network. And you can even change the policy so that if they're on the network or if they're at school, they have a more strict policy, but when they go home, they have a more relaxed policy because it is location aware. Another thing also that is very, very new to the product that actually isn't even in this demo because it's so new is we do integrate with a YouTube for Education. So if you have a YouTube for Education account, you can certainly put that in our device, and we can filter based off of those YouTube videos that you've allowed in your YouTube for Education account. So that's also a very handy thing. Whenever something is blocked in this real-time monitor, it will show up in red. So that just helps, makes it more easily visibly nice for you when you're trying to determine who's going where. And if you've got a lot of students browsing at a time, obviously this can make a lot of noise. So what we also give you the ability to do is to filter out different things. So for example, if I want to only watch what's blocked on my network, I can come up to this result type and only look at blocked traffic. So we can see here that it may not work particularly great on this demo box, and for that I do apologize. It is simulated data. But whenever something is blocked, as you can see here, it is in red. And it'll just show up, continue to show up by the person. So we can see that this Francine Thadier, she is going to different types of gaming websites, some streaming media, as well as one of the websites was a spyware class ID website, so she was blocked there. Also, if you've got a particular student that you want to watch the traffic for, regardless of what type of traffic, you can come up here and you can put in the filter for the directory user. You can look for the specific user, maybe do a search for their name. You can even have more than one person to be applied to the filter. So in this regard, instead of seeing all of your students' traffic or all of your users' traffic, you're only filtering out the one person and just looking at their traffic. So there's a lot of cool things you can do in terms of seeing what's happening in real time on your device. And I see that I'm starting to run out of time a little bit. I'm not seeing any new questions. So I really want to just say that I do appreciate everyone's time, and hopefully this has been a little bit informative for you about how you can view and control the 4 different types of internet traffic. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Scott, and for great information, and for everyone for your attendance and for your information there. So if they want more information, Scott, where would they go? What would be the best way to get a hold of you or go from there?
They can go directly to our website at symphonix.com, or they are more than free to email me directly. I can either answer their questions or get them talking to the right people. My email is just right there at scott@symphonix.com. I would be more than happy to do that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Scott, thanks again for the presentation, and thanks everyone for being here. We will take a short break, and then we'll start with the next session. Thanks again.
Thank you.
So we'll be getting started shortly with the next presentation. Thanks everyone for being here. We'll get started in about 10 minutes. Thanks.